All right, so it is 10 a.m. in the East Coast, or on the East Coast, USA, and it is 5 p.m. in Ukraine. So we have our next webinar with a very special guest. So here we have Ivan Klimenko of UniCheck. And the reason this company is very special, there are several reasons. One, first of all, it is our long-term partner. So the company has participated in XCulture last semester. The students loved it so much that many asked to bring it back. And the company loved it, so they decided to come back. And so this is nice. So we have a repeat challenge. It's a little different this semester, but it would be very interesting to see how it will be different this semester from the last semester in terms of the ideas that the students propose. Second reason we like it so much is the product of this project or of this company is something that is directly relevant to students. The company specializes in plagiarism detection and is also experimenting with all kinds of other features and add-on services. So it's not only plagiarism, but there is much more that they do. But pretty much everything they do is geared towards students. And so the idea here is, or the beauty of this challenge is that the students are actually potential customers. And so the idea is that, the students are uniquely positioned to understand what is good and what is bad about the product, how it can be developed, because it is designed for you. And so if there is something you don't like, perhaps, well, that's a problem, and you will be able to tell us about it. Or if there is something you like, or maybe some ideas you have for the future development. Again, of all the people on this planet, the current students are probably best positioned to help this company grow. And then obviously the third reason is that I'm originally from Ukraine, and even though it's been more than half a life for me since I left Ukraine, but obviously that is the country where I was born and raised. In UniCheck, it is a Ukrainian/American company that do have presence in the United States, an office, and maybe opening another one, but still the origin of the company is also in Ukraine. And so that makes it very special for me personally. And so today we have a guest here from the company, Ivan Klimenko. He is one of the executive suite there people. So your role is specifically relationships director. Is that correct?
Yeah, director of partnerships.
Right, partnerships. And so, but Ivan is also very technically savvy, and so he does not only the business side essentially, but also does some technical side, and so is very well suited to talk about the company, both from the technical side, but also help us better understand what the challenge is and how we can help. So the way it will go is the following. So we will start with a short introduction of the company, 10-15 minutes. Ivan will tell us a little bit about the company, the product, the history, and the challenge. Those of you who are here live, you can ask questions anytime. You can either raise hand. You have a button there that literally is for raising hand, or you can click on the Q&A button and type your questions, or just put them in the chat window. I will monitor those. Those of you who are not here live, who have to be in a class, for example, or maybe transiting somewhere now, you can always send your questions by email. And I see we already have quite a few questions in our email account, and I will try to read them as the meeting progresses. But again, if any new questions come up, just send me an email, type it in the comments, raise a hand, and join us live, talk to us. And so hopefully this way it will go well. All right, so now I'm turning it to Ivan, and so he will tell us a little bit more about the company.
Thank you, Vasil, very much for this introduction. We're broadcasting from Kiev. It's 5 p.m. here, although we often stay late, so we comfortably work with pretty much American time zones, European time zones, and sometimes adjust to Asian time zones. So we're very flexible, and that's not just about the time zones. I think the entire company and its business model has adopted something which is a challenge of 21st century for every enterprise, including educational establishments. And precisely educational establishments, because education worldwide is in the crisis, let's call it this way, of readjusting its models to a new era of technology and of collaboration, which happens online, anywhere on any device. And now even the concept of personalized learning introduced the notion of self-paced learning. So this entire transformation it came from business, but it's transforming the education. Alrighty, well, first of all, Vasil, you have a much more interesting wall than myself. I can view prominent people there, see the Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, some historical figures I recognize.
Yes, I was doing the presentation the other day on platform businesses, and I thought it would be appropriate to place there some pictures of the people. Well, at least one of them is in platform business. I have more inspiring people on my front wall that you don't see, but yes. But please go on. Sorry.
Thank you. So without further ado, let's continue about UniCheck. That's the topic of our webinar today. UniCheck has been formed in 2014, although it had a different name. The name we had before was Unplag. But if you saw the way we write the name, I have doubts that everyone would spell it correctly right from the first go. So it was UNPLAG. And right now, the company name is UniCheck, and I think it's a great point to start to explain what path we have gone from, where we started from, and where we are right now, and why we have changed the name and where we're going. So we started as a simple plagiarism detection tool. For those who didn't hear this concept, plagiarism detection, or even sometimes plagiarism, let's start from simple things. Plagiarism is considered to be an academic misconduct when a student intentionally or unintentionally is not citing the sources or is not citing the sources properly. And this is a very, very important concept because it revolves around ownership of ideas. Intellectual property nowadays is a very important concept to the very establishment of our world. Every industry, like music industry, the publishing industry, the content that is produced in education, the content is around us and it comes in all varieties of forms. So ownership is the key concept for this phenomena of modern world where artists share their creative work and they get attribution for it.
And your product, you don't work only with the student papers, right? You can check for plagiarism just about anything, right?
Yes, we can check just about anything, but only a text. And a text could be included as a plain text, or it could be a file like a PDF document or Microsoft PowerPoint document. The point is the concept of plagiarism is so important to education because it teaches students to understand the value of ownership of ideas. And when some of you will become in the future artists, businessmen, entrepreneurs, and you'll have your own ideas. And for example, if you find a situation where you have a great idea and someone else is rewarded for it, I bet I can predict your feelings at that moment. So we even in our consciousness, it's typical to assign ownership to our ideas. So when we put these ideas in writing and someone is using those ideas without attribution or in plain text or just simply using an idea, that's called plagiarism. And it's a broad term which applies to multiple industries. We're going to focus on academic plagiarism this time. And in academic setting, plagiarism is meant mostly that the student, when creating a written assignment, didn't follow the directions of the teacher or is not aware of the proper citing techniques. In some way or another, students forgets or intentionally does not cite the author properly. And of course, the purpose of all teaching is to learn something. And by not attributing the idea of the other author, we're not learning this very important concept of ownership of ideas. So plagiarism tools are programs which are used as a separate programs or which are used as an embedded programs within other systems like learning management environments, which help to automate one simple task. They produce electronic reports for student submissions, and those reports contain basic and detailed information about how well a student performed on citing other authors. So this feedback is critical to the teacher to provide detailed and very specific counter feedback to the student and teach him, first of all, an importance of the idea of quoting the authors, and second, assist with properly citing the material. And especially, it's also important if you're going to pursue a career in education and in science and in fields where you would have to make studies, or if you're an inventor, everything that you publish when you reference other people, you have to do it properly, and you'll have to do it anyways. Because in the modern world, you will be checked against.
Well, that's the point. So even if students don't believe in the whole, saving the world, no plagiarism concept, they still have to abide by those rules, because in many universities, you literally can be expelled if you are caught cheating. And so at the very least, they have to care about that because of their grades.
Yeah, that's kind of what I call a negative motivation, but we can be motivated also by positive
extrinsic.
Yeah, positive motivation is clear here. If you don't want your colleagues, your future colleagues, maybe your mates, other people to take your ideas and say that they're their own and benefit from your ideas, then you better cite properly, because you are, first of all, you are doing it right, and you would expect from others doing it right. Okay, so let's talk more about UniCheck. Right now, as we started a very small company. It was about maybe 5 or 6 people, and the idea initially was conceived by a talented engineer who studied here in Kiev, a talented programmer who's actually now our CTO, a young and talented engineer who has created a simple algorithm because he was frustrated about the situation that we had here locally in Ukraine. So he saw the problem and saw the opportunity and created this service. And since then, we have walked a long road and did a lot of errors and did a lot of correct choices. I don't know, probably don't have readiness to be completely honest about the proportion of those, but the thing is, we've learned a lot. So we've started with a product for what we call individual students. They were able to go to open the web browser, open the page, copy paste the text, and verify how well they cited the sources. That was the first original product. And it worked well, and for some time, but the quick realization was that if we want to transform global society for a good way, but do our small attribution to it, we'll have to start with something that is the foundation of the society. And we thought a long time, what's the foundation of the societies, modern societies? And we came to the conclusion that it's actually educational system. So we'll have to somehow influence the educational system in order to improve, to bridge this gap between the current practices of studying and learning and the information era, where information is readily accessible for students to copy and use. And we've clearly realized we need to work with schools, colleges, and universities. And the first product which we created as Unplugged was still the standalone system, but it was already targeted for educational institutions. And we started to work in parallel in Ukraine and internationally, and primarily in the United States, and quickly realized that the whole world is using learning management systems, and it was like a news for us. What's that? Because I didn't have a learning management system 10 years ago, and was not interested to look what's currently being used. And even now, even these years, our universities are still adopting learning management systems. So Ukraine is a little bit behind this. It's like a legacy of the Soviet era education, but still we're catching up, and we've learned quickly we need to deliver these services within learning management systems, and we've developed integrated products. Right now, UniCheck is integrated with top LMS systems. They're top primarily in the United States, but also there are a few global systems which are top internationally, like Moodle, like Canvas, like Blackboard, Sakai, Brightspace. There's a number of players in the market. And our focus has been, the idea has evolved over time, but now our focus is to create a seamless experience for students and teachers, to provide learning opportunities, but also to provide teachers a productivity tool. So right now, UniCheck has hundreds of clients. We operate worldwide. Our primary market is basically United States, probably second coming Europe. But we're also very interested to work in a newer, or I would say markets which are catching up to the leaders. And this is Latin America, this is South Africa and West Africa, this is Australia, and other regions and countries which are quickly realizing the urgency of this, of this matter. And of course, America being the leader here. you have been using, your country have been using this kind of software for as long as probably 15 or maybe more years. So you've been the pioneer here. The key difference of UniCheck between the UniCheck and the other systems and companies is that we have been founded based on the idea of delivering a social good and having a business along the way. So the foundation of the founding principles of the company is to actually cleanse the educational system from these bad or poor practices of teaching students about plagiarism and giving the productivity tools. So to deliver this mission, not we just provide the tools for teachers, we also provide the tools for students. And right now, UniCheck has a line of products and technologies in development. We have the core product set of the company is integrated plagiarism solutions, which are used within learning management systems, primarily by teachers. But also there is an option to give students some level of access in order to learn and educate them, and in order to provide them learning opportunities. We also have a separate product, which we call products for individuals. That's a UniCheck, which can be used by any student without regard if your institution is having UniCheck or is planning to have UniCheck. And it can be used to learn and also to check your submissions before actually sending it to your institution, no matter what your plagiarism search is. We also focus on, we have a broader vision now, and we focus on a set of educational tools around writing. And we work on such technologies as paraphrase, search, as advanced grammar check, authorship attribution, and a number of other data mining and search technologies. So our specialties is effectively working with very large data sets, text data sets, extracting some information and producing valuable insights from this information. In terms of our comparison to other companies, few things that differentiate us is a young, ambitious, and a very technically experienced team. So we're catching up on the business and the marketing side, but we have a very powerful foundation for the company is the very strong product team. So our product are very well integrated, and we continuously improve our systems by adhering to this community development-driven approach. So we investigate discussions in communities, collect a lot of feedback, and that's why our products tailored to the market needs. And the second big distinction is our pricing and partnership models. We're very flexible, and we have introduced some options to our clients and partners which never existed before, like, for example, paying per page, which provided, by the way, provided an opportunity for an entire niche of schools and colleges in the United States to afford this technology. That's a big issue that we are also keen on solving, is to make the UniCheck, to make actually the plagiarism systems and similar tools available and accessible to entire educational body of the planet, including the United States, because we believe that this is such an important cause that cannot be put behind, the paywall. So UniCheck is affordable, and we have flexible pricing models. And the last distinctive, not the last, but third important distinctive thing about the UniCheck is that we're a service company. So you can think of us as a product company, but that would be incorrect. A service company is the one which is continuously keeping the client in our head, the end user in our head, continuously thinking how to improve our services. And instead of trying to push through the features and the products which you don't need, we rather listen to you and develop the products which you do need. So those are three key distinctions between us and competitors. And I guess this is a general basic introduction. We can continue our discussion based on the situation, awareness, and questions from the students.
And we do have a lot of questions. I'm not sure why students are sending them by email. I suspect they're probably sitting in the classroom and are not allowed, to watch live, but perhaps can send the emails. So I'll try to group them in some way, but they will be in a somewhat random order. So a few students ask specifically about where you operate. You already mentioned that your biggest market is the United States. Can you tell us more where else? And then several students ask also why.
Also what, sorry?
Why, for example, the United States or whatever other country?
Yeah, why?
What are the reasons? Is this, I assume, is this your choice, or is it the market necessity, or is it where the demand is? So talk a little bit more about your geography.
Yeah, it's I really love why questions, because they quite suggest a broad and open answer, and this actually offers much broader understanding than a fact question. So, but we'll start with the fact question. Where do we operate? We operate, well, I would say United States and North America. We operate in all of those countries, including Mexico. We look at Europe, but specifically at Spain and England. We operate in other countries in Europe, but our presence varies depending on the, I would say, the historical strategy that we had. So we have strong presence in Belgium. We've had an encounter with a partner and had successful relationships. So right now, more than 130 schools are using us in Belgium, and that's more than 100,000 students. And basically every month or so, 10 schools are joining us in that region. We also work.
Now, your product works in all kinds of languages, right? It's not only English, is it?
So two parts to this question: the language of the interface of the product and the languages that we can search. So the interface is multilingual, and there is about 8 languages, main European languages, English, and a few other less popular languages like Ukrainian, Russian, because we originated from this region, and we want to serve our own institutions and bring up the education level here in this country. And the languages that we search is much broader set. We support any language which is written left to right, and which is using space as a delimiter between words. So if we can, and these are such languages as English, Spanish, German, French, and a lot of other languages, not so popular, but which use words. They're written left to right, and they have spaces between the words. So at this time we exclude Japanese or Chinese or Hindi or other more rare Asian languages, or Arabic, which is written right to left. But practically, UniCheck already can be adopted by probably 3/3 of the countries of the planet. So the product is ready for the world.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so why the United States, for example? Why North America? So is it just a fluke, or it was a strategic choice? And if so, what motivated you to come here?
It's a good question whether it was a strategic choice. We've learned to be focused, not right at the start. At the start, we had an ambition to create the best product we could. So the focus was primarily on the product development, quality of the search, and we somewhat were meeting all inbound requests that asked us about the service and didn't have, so to speak, a go-to-market strategy. But when we did the market research and devised a go-to-market strategy, we quickly realized that the United States is simply half of the world market. So you want to be present on that market if you have a great product. So it was a simple business choice.
A question about the company size and age. How old and how many people work for you? And Kevin is also asking, what kind of jobs do you guys have? Is it all programming or all kinds of other people?
Yeah. Legally, I would say the company could be set as 3-4 years old, but in fact, the engine development started earlier than that. So the company was formed a little bit later. So the engine itself is 5-6 years, and it's a 3rd or 4th generation of engine. We've written the code for the system literally a couple times already, and I think those of you who are into IT and programming read some stories about the Reddit website, and it's a very popular social platform. It's a fact that they have rewritten the entire website for 6 times, I think. So UniCheck has a new fresh blood every I would say 1.5 or 2 years or so. But right now we're very confident in terms of system architecture. Okay, so the company has all kinds of employees, which are typical for an IT product service company. We have engineering department, which has programmers, front end and back end, which also has designers, which are front end designers, illustrators. Also Department of Quality Assurance, who are doing all of our tests. QA, and development operations, and all kinds of other IT professions. Apart from dev, we have a sales department, business development unit, we have partnerships unit, we have marketing unit, and we have other administrative units which manage our accounting, legal questions, financial questions. So it's a normal company. We're not from other planets, so we have a typical set of professions for a typical IT company. And now, in terms of ourselves, a typical IT company.
Now, there are a few questions about your products. So plagiarism is the main one. You said you have other ones, but when it comes to plagiarism, do you work only with universities, or who are your other customers, and can a private individual have an account?
Yeah, so we work with education, which means that we work with everyone in this sphere. We work with university or higher education, we work with colleges, we work with schools. Well, in terms of schools, they don't need this kind of solutions in the primary school. So starting from class 6 maybe, or 7, so from K6 to K12 or K7 to K12, they already have this need for schools and the district. Other kind of clients could be individual students, and we have a separate product available at unicheck.com for students. And we also work with educational publishers. We do pro bono services. We support some organizations like University of the People, the world's first free university, which provides accredited online education, established in California, supported by United Nations. UniCheck is an exclusive supporter of this initiative. And we actually explore and look forward to finding out new models and new partners.
So what is the typical profile of your customer?
So the typical profile of our customer is either, if we're talking about institutional customer, it's a school from grade 6 to grade 12. It's a district of schools, so it's a set of schools in the same region. It's a college, and it's practically any college and any school, because everywhere you go, you have assignments, written assignments. It's a university, it's a consortia of the universities. And if we're talking about individuals, it's students studying in these institutions. And it could be possible that both an institution has the license and students in that institutions have license, because they want to be confident about their work. And if, for example, institution is not offering them the option to access the tool freely, then students are not left behind. And we put a lot of emphasis on this. Students can use our software on their own. And the other types of clients from individuals are everyone who works with content, journalists, content writers, bloggers, etc.
So when it comes to students versus universities, or corporate versus private customers, what is the rough ratio of the corporate clients versus the individual users?
Yeah, good question. And I think we can make a comparison, but it would be only situational. Historically, we have been focusing more on solution for corporates, and have had some ideas for solution for individuals. But at the inception of the company, as we made the focus to make integrated solutions, then we, so to speak, kept our solution for individuals at bay and didn't focus much on it. So right now, we have Sergey, can you mention?
Separate products.
Yeah, I cannot mention the number of users, but it's in hundreds of thousands for individuals, and we have hundreds institutional clients, and they might have up to 100,000 students. So one corporate clients could have, for example, 100,000 students.
A question just came. So where do you have higher profit margins, with the corporate clients or with the individuals, or which ones are more interesting for you?
Yeah, higher profit margins.
Probably corporate, I guess, one contract, big here.
Yeah, we actually still exploring this question, and we haven't made
a diplomatically correct answer.
yes, right on spot. We know a little bit more than we can tell at this webinar, but
right. And that is, by the way, totally fine. And for the students, I know there will be many questions that will be asking, what are the salaries, what are the profit margins, prices. Some of those questions perhaps cannot be or should not be revealed to the general public. So students, it's okay to ask, but be cognizant of the possibility that, maybe sometimes some of that information is not revealable, or it would be not feasible to share some of those details.
Yeah. Just not to leave you without anything for this question. Well, first of all, I think we will put this question into the project for you about it. And second, I would say that there is no simple answer. Of course, there could be an answer for us, where we have more margin, but there is no direct answer in terms of strategy. If we were to devise a strategy to make the corporate sector more profitable than the individual, then we'll probably have that. Right. And if we devise the opposite strategy to make individual product more profitable than corporate, then we probably focus on that. It's more like, if you want to see positive attributes in the person, you see the positive ones. If you want to see the negatives, you will see the negatives.
Well, the important thing is that you're open to working with both types of clients.
And we do already work with both types of clients.
Open to all kinds of ideas, yeah.
An important note that I didn't say about our company, we have, although I mentioned that we have a big IT department, I didn't mention that we are very innovative, focused on innovations. So we not just more accessible, great looking, great working product, provide great support. That's a good qualities for every company, but how we're different. We're different by introducing innovations and specifically with individual students in mind. Right now we have released a UniCheck add-on for Google Document, and that can be already searched in the Google apps, added to your Google Document basically app, and you can compare your submission against more than 20 billion sources. And we continuously update our index and see the results right inside your Google environment where you write the submissions. And in addition to that, we're the only company in the world who integrates with the Google Classroom learning system. It's not a full-featured LMS, but it provides a very convenient way to submit assignments. And we're the first to do this. And this is not the entire list of our initiatives. So just to give you an idea, we're open to new technical ideas. We're open to new delivery models. We're open to hear you.
Yeah. Pricing. So what is your pricing model? Is it fixed priced? Is it subscription? Is it pay as you go or something else?
Right. So when we started the business, we didn't actually know how to price the product well until we did the research properly. So well, first of all, if you start a company, and I'm sure some of you will do, it's not for everyone, but it's certainly for someone, then do the research properly, and it will save you a lot of time, because the pricing, it really impacts a lot. And the best way would be to look at the industry and what the competitors, what the existing companies are doing. And we've done that. So a typical pricing model is a charge per student. If we're talking about institutional customers. So if they have 100,000 students and they need to check every student submission in a year, at least one time, then they will pay a fixed student fee per year, and we will negotiate this fee. But UniCheck is also flexible with product for individuals and with product for institutional clients. You can simply buy pages. And we've just recently changed our pricing model for individuals. Now you can purchase maybe 3, 5, 10 pages if you need so little. And it's just there when you need it. Vasil, I think we've lost the sound.
No, yeah, that's a good idea, especially for those who perhaps are not ready to commit to like an annual subscription or
we had subscriptions, but we decided to experiment a little bit. So
do many people start with a pay-as-you-go and then convert to a subscription, or most people stay as a with a pay-as-you-go system or payment system?
We have both kind of customers who love the subscription and who love pay-as-you-go, but right now the services are available as pay-as-you-go. So if you need a lot of pages, you can simply buy a lot of pages.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Fair enough, yes. Several people are asking, so what are your biggest challenges at this time to growth?
Biggest challenges for growth. Yeah, I'll take a minute to think about it to give you a good answer.
And perhaps while you're thinking about that, well, I guess let's do this one, and then there is a question that is actually related to pricing. Perhaps maybe we can do that one first. What is your real marginal price? So when a client comes to you, I suppose, does it cost you much to service it, to service that account? And where does your price or cost arises from?
Yeah, we will go from the first to the second question.
Mm-hmm.
So the challenges that UniCheck right now is facing is probably the challenge that every company is facing, is how to scale, and there could be different strategies to do that. I will list a couple strategies, but I will not specify exactly how we work right now because we're still experimenting. And one of the ways to scale is to create offices around the world, open up partner offices, but you actually create a physical presence on the market. The other challenge is to hire people, consultants, or specialized firms which represent your interests. There are different partnership opportunities, and there is always there are business trips, there are expos, so there is a whole variety of things and channels which could be used for scaling. So the challenge for us right now is to choose proper strategy for scaling, and at the same time keep our original promise of making a difference in education.
Mm-hmm. So going back to your kind of production cost or operating cost, so what are the things that you have to pay for? I mean, I assume obviously salary probably is part of that, but what are your other costs? Electricity? I don't know.
I cannot give you any numbers, but I can give you the constituents that actually comprise the cost. So yes, it's a salary, it's the office that we have, and we have a very wonderful glass office here. It's mostly open space, but comfortable, separated in rooms. We have costs associated with servers, of course, electricity and other utility bills. And also, we have costs associated with searches itself. So we work with search providers, which help us create this powerful internet search. And we have to pay to access these data sets.
So when I become your customer, even though you already have the engine, the program, every time I use a service, you still have to pay.
Yeah, that's right. So it's not an idle. The production of a plagiarism report always entails some costs to data providers.
So it's not a software that I just install on my computer and you forget about it, right? So each time there is actually the what do you call it, the variable cost to my using.
Yeah. In terms of deployment options, of course, the early plagiarism checkers, they started as standalone solutions like an apps which you install, but as we can see, the installed apps concept is changing, and we're all into cloud right now. We're all into apps, mobile apps, etc. So installing an app is not secure. You have to maintain it. You have to update it, and it puts the limits on what you can do. So UniCheck is 100% cloud software, and this means that all you need to do to use the server is a web page and a connection to the internet. And your PC can be as slow as Pentium 2. Those are one who knows what it is. It's an older processor which had the frequency of something like 200 hertz or 300 hertz. I remember still using it. But now all the computations happen somewhere else on the internet, and you receive the results.
Right. Yes. Now, there are several people who are asking you about the way you collect payments, and I think it can be also from the people who attended yesterday's webinar. The company that participated gave a presentation yesterday. They said one of the big challenges they face is how to collect payments from overseas. So there are all kinds of challenges transferring the money into their country. And so with Ukraine, I'm not sure how easy or difficult it is, but when I pay for, let's say, 10 pages, and I owe you, let's say, $5, how first of all, what payment methods do you accept? And second, is there a problem for you as a company then to receive that money in your account? I'm not sure if you have them in the United States or in Ukraine, but if in Ukraine, I suppose it may not be as smooth as as smooth as, just a simple credit card payment.
So it's a very good question, and a good question to consider when you start a business, because this will actually limit limit you regionally where you can operate, and you have to think about taxes and VATs if we're talking about the Europe. So you'll have to think how much it would cost to you to accept the payment and what kind of limits it will impose to you. And right now we're living, I would say, in a little bit more easier times than before. Originally, when there was no payment systems which aggregated different interfaces into one, we'd have to connect every and each of one. And it was quite complicated. You could open a website and it would have all these 20 icons of different payment interfaces that it's
right.
And although it worked, it was not a beautiful solution. So we work with PayPal, and we work with other payment merchants. So we accept PayPal payments and credit card payments.
So your credit card payments are also powered by PayPal, or do you use a different provider?
Yeah, PayPal has a guest payment
option. That's what we use here at XCulture, so it allows us to accept credit card payments, and they take most of them. But again, for some countries, it's still, like at least for us, it doesn't work. So some countries, we can receive relatively easily payments. But for example, when it comes to us, sometimes like we cannot issue a refund. Sometimes we would have a university that wants to participate, pays to us, but then something changes with the schedule, they need to drop out. And for us, we cannot pay the same way back. And so sometimes it becomes quite a challenge too.
Yes, I think the focus would be, of course, to allow you to pay with the credit card without requiring you to understand PayPal or use PayPal. And I think if we don't have it over, do we have the direct payment? Yes. Yeah, so we already have the direct payment, the credit card payment. So you just use your debit card or your credit card.
Right, yeah.
So any institutions, they prefer to pay using standard banking operation.
Yeah. So then how about the countries where credit cards are not used on a regular basis? So can they still use your service?
Yeah, we actually have special places and special people collecting such payments. I'm just kidding. We don't work with this.
Well, no, but that is an issue again. So yeah, in fact, with XCulture, again, we have about 40, 50 countries in a given semester. And we have some participants that say, yes, we do have the money, but we are simply either not allowed to make a payment overseas, like have to get a special permission from the central bank, or there is no easy way. Like I can literally mail you the cash, but I mean, that's not the best way to go. So
we've had very funny cases here in Ukraine, people calling our managers and sending something like money via SMS or some weird like this, just to get access to our tool because it's unique. We don't have any alternative solution here in Ukraine, and it actually helps you prepare properly for your dissertation because then you don't have to do this thing manually. So in this case, we would work with a local payment provider, or we would look for the partner.
Yeah. Now, there is a bunch of questions about your marketing, and I will go one by one. So first, who are the decision makers, people who make the purchasing decisions for your product? I assume for the individual customers, it's probably the person who buys it, but for the universities, who's the right person to talk to?
Yeah, so the decision-making body of the institution depends typically on the region a little bit, but also more primarily on the size of the institution. The smaller the institution, the less is the decisional body. So if we're talking about a small school, it could be one person. It could be either a person responsible for IT, LMS administrator, or maybe a library administrator, could be a teacher assigned with these functions, or even the head of school. But if we grow in size and in types of institutions, then we start having either several people being responsible, like head of IT or head of library, and we start to have committees and boards and
so it's not individual professors, right? So it's not professors, or probably not even the deans of the school.
Professors usually are the ones who evaluate. Yeah, evaluate the product and say whether they want it or not, whether they are happy with it or not. But the decision-making body is usually IT-savvy people, and of course people who have who manage the budgets.
Right, makes sense. Now, then second, how do you currently advertise yourself? How do you convince those decision makers to buy the product?
Yeah, you would be surprised to hear.
I don't know.
What I tell. I'm talking to students actually. We don't.
Oh, you don't advertise?
We don't advertise, almost.
Okay.
So you might ask how
Yes, how?
we grow if we don't advertise.
Right.
So yeah, we don't want to be just another company which seeks investment, 2 million, 100 million, and then spends half of the budget on advertisement. What we do instead, I would say we maniacally focus on product and services, and let people talk about our services. But we also produce lots of useful content around our services and around the topic of plagiarism. So we tend to rely on people who like our product and tell about it.
Mm-hmm. There is a very interesting question from Anonymous at India. I'm not sure why sometimes it doesn't show us the name, but so he's asking, how similar is the output from your plagiarism software from Turnitin? Does differentiation typically come from the new models, such as Google Doc integration rather than the detection itself? How does Turnitin differ in pricing both the cost and the model? And what incentives do customers have to go with you as opposed to Turnitin?
Yeah, so we'll have to be careful, and this relates to any business when we talk about us and competitors, when we say anything like facts about the company or the other product. So I'll try to adhere as best to these practices, but at the same time give you valuable information. So the major question was how we are different, right?
Right. So the person here, and again, next time, guys, you ask questions, maybe put your name so we know who you are. But the question is, one, in terms of what you get as an output as a plagiarism report, how is it different from Turnitin, which you guys would produce? And two, how are you different in terms of the pricing strategy or any other business aspects of the model?
Yeah, so let's start with simple things, the product and report itself. Well, first of all, UniCheck has a very powerful internet search. According to our tests, and this is not a scientific claim, but rather our opinion, we provide the best web search among all available checkers, both paid and free. That's the first difference, and we believe we have achieved this because of our sophisticated algorithms, but also because we work properly with data sets and with proper data sets. So it's like two-side question data set and the algorithm. And the second big difference is that UniCheck is much more value focused in terms that in all the decisions that we make about our products and about our services, they usually come directly from the need that is out there. So we might have a little bit different strategies in how we promote what we promote and how we promote it and what our goals are. So I would say UniCheck is more social aspect to a company. And in terms of report itself, also, I'd like to say that we believe about ourselves that we have superior technical side of the product. Sometimes, and it's always under the hood, and people don't know it. But the architecture of the product itself delivers very high uptimes. We have service level agreements that ensure this uptime so that service is uninterrupted, and it's very fast. And that's innovation in itself. We're the first solution on the market to literally produce reports on the fly, whereas before, on all the existing solutions, it could take up to 24 hours.
In fact, yeah, so XCulture uses Turnitin. So the students who are listening now, so you will be submitting your reports via Turnitin, and we may switch to UniCheck. Hopefully we'll find a way to do it. The reason we use Turnitin is because the university pays for it and we have free access. We have been using it for a long time, so kind of more a convenience/price type of advantage. For us, again, it's not cheaper. It's because somebody else pays, we can use it for free. But one of the problems with Turnitin is that when you will be submitting your reports 1 week before the deadline, so you will be submitting your reports twice. First, you will submit the draft 1 week before the deadline, and then you will submit the final report. So when you submit the draft 1 week in advance, we will allow you to see your plagiarism report. So you will be able to see if any of your team members who ever wrote, other sections, if there is anything that's problematic there. And if there is something, you will have about a week to fix it. And you will see that you will submit your file, 20 pages or so, and you literally have to wait like for half a day before you get the report. And so that's how much time it takes you Turnitin to scan all the, crawl all the sources that they use and then give you the plagiarism report. So you literally have to close the program, go do something else, and then come back next day or later that day to see the report. So it sounds like with UniCheck, you will get a much faster turnaround, right?
Yeah, so to recap, we use real-time internet search as opposed to archives, which are very often limited in scope, and they have latency in terms of how fast new material comes in. And we catch the material which has been posted even minutes ago. It would depend whether our search provider has it or not, but it's literally real time. Then we don't have any broken links in the report. If you ever used such tools, they could often provide broken links because they do searches using the web archive and the content has moved. And content moves quite fast. According to some research, every few years or so, the content moves. But I have heard much faster data, like sometimes even every month or so, the content could change its address. So that's the shortfall of the web archive. And the third thing is that you get report instantly. So you have limited time for study and you have time for other activities. We don't want you to rob you of that important time with friends, family, etc. So you get the reports in real time. That's very important. And also for XCulture, UniCheck is free.
Yes, that's another question. Several students asked about that. So are you still offering the demo accounts for the XCulture students for the duration of the project competition? Is it still an option?
Yeah, this is still an option. You could see and explore the product. And this kind of hands-on experience will first let you understand what the product is and what it does and in what way. And second, it will help you could come up with great ideas regarding the product improvement.
Right, maybe some design. And for you students, again, it's a great opportunity to perhaps, again, explore how it works, try to check your papers before you submit them to your professors, including, by the way, you can literally, compare, maybe turn it into UniCheck when you will be submitting your draft, submit it to both, see how it works. Maybe you will like it. Maybe you will even become a paying customer. I mean, I don't see why not. If you like it afterwards, it's not expensive at all. Or at the very least, maybe you'll have some interesting ideas for improvement. So we are over time. I'm trying to keep it to 45 minutes, and we're already almost an hour into the webinar. Any other questions if you have? I see we have several people watching now live. Andrew, Christian, Juan, Miguel. If you guys have any questions, please ask them now. And those who will miss the meeting and will have questions later, feel free to send an email. And if it's something we don't know the answer to, we will forward it to the company. The questions tend to be repetitive, so once we get the answer from the company once, we keep it in the database and then just copy and paste that answer when the same question comes again. So this way we don't have to bother busy executives and engineers. But yes, your questions will be answered, so feel free to ask them. All right, well, I think we've exhausted pretty much all of the questions. I think we're going to stop here, and then we will have another meeting in a few weeks. And at that time, what we'll try to do is select several random, more or less, teams that are working on the UniCheck challenge, and perhaps ask them to present to the company what they have ready at that time. Not the final answer, just the idea that they're working with. And ask the company then to provide some feedback on the work the students are doing. So hopefully that feedback will allow the teams, not only the ones who will be presenting, but everybody else will allow to adjust their direction and then perhaps use the remaining few weeks to polish their reports and make them better. And it will be at the time when the late track will start. So we have about 1,000 students in the early track and expect about 4,000 students in the late track. So at that time we will have a much larger crowd, those who will be close to the end, but also those who will just start. So we'll also have some questions and answer time. All right, well, thank you so much. Truly appreciate your help. I know it's a late hour in Kyiv, so thank you so much for finding time for us. And we will be then in touch by email, and then again the next webinar in about 5 weeks.
Yeah, thank you for this final word. And just to remind, we're going to provide free test accounts for all XCulture students. So remember about this opportunity. This is hands-on experience, and not just it's also experience with the tool itself. So it's kind of a service.
So should we then what like you will have some sort of a sign up page or something, so we'll send an
Yeah,
email.
we will come up with a proper procedure to provide
Yeah.
the
Probably best if you have a place where they go to sign up, and we'll just send a link to that page, and so this way you will have all the contacts and names, and in case somebody doesn't want one. So. Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you very, very much, everyone, and so we will see you, the students, again. We will have another webinar tomorrow, and then we will meet again with UniCheck in a few weeks at the second webinar.
Thank you, everyone, for attending.
Дуже дякуємо.
Спасибо.